In the last section, we learned how to convert some special base 10 fractions into decimals and vice versa. Now we are going to learn how to convert any fraction into a decimal. And it turns out to be really simple. All you have to do is divide. Since a fraction is really just a division problem, if you go ahead and do the division, you will get the answer. And that answer will be the decimal value of the fraction. Now there is two ways we can do the division, the easy way and the hard way. Now just because we are going to start with the hard way. Let's make the fraction 1/2 and convert it into a regular division problem with this division symbol. Now all we have to do is follow the procedure for division. We just see how many times this 2 divides into this 1. It's 1 divide any times 2 is bigger than 1. It looks like we are going to need some help, and that's where the decimal points come in. Now you remember that in the last section we learned that 1 could be written as 1.0 or 1.00 or 1.000 and its value is still 1. Let's try doing that here and see what happens. After the 1, put a decimal point and then a 0 in the tens place. Now our division problem looks like 10 divided by 2 and that's easy to do. The only difference is we have a decimal point. Let's ignore the decimal point for a minute and pretend that our problem really is 10 divided by 2. So 2 will go into 10 5 times because 5 times 2 equals to 10 and that leaves no remainder. So we have done, right? Not so fast. We have got that decimal point to deal with. And we know that 5 can't be the answer because 5 is bigger than 1/2. We just need to include the decimal point in our answer for it to be the correct. We put it directly above the decimal point in our problem. There, now our answer is 0.5 or 0.5, which is the more proper way to write it. So, by dividing, we figure out that the decimal value of 1/2 is 0.5. Now, let's try converting the fraction 3/4 by dividing. And of course, we start by rewriting our fraction like this, 3 divided by 4. And again, we run into the same problem. 4 is too big to go into 3. So it looks like we are going to need a decimal point here too. Let's book a decimal point. Let's put a decimal point after 3 and a 0 into the tens place to make 3.0. Now our problem almost looks like 30 divided by 2. Now, if you remember your multiplication table, you will know that 4 goes into 30 7 times because 7 times 4 is equals to 28. 30 minus 28 leaves a remainder of 2, but we don't want a remainder, so let's keep going. 4 is too big to divide into 2, so the only way we can get rid of the remainder is to use another 0 into the hundreds place, which make the number we are dividing up kind of look like 300. Now we can bring down that extra 0 to make the remainder looks like 20. And 4 will go into 20 5 times because 5 times 4 equals 20 and that leaves no remainder. But don't forget, we need to include the decimal point in our answer. Now, if you have kept your column lined up like I have, you will see that the decimal point goes right here. And this makes your answer 0.75. So the decimal value of 3/4 is 0.75. Alright, let's convert one more the hard way. Let's find the decimal value of 1/3 by dividing 1 by 3. And again, 3 is too big to divide into 1, so we will need to use a decimal point and another 0, which makes our problem look like 10 divided by 3. That's easy. 3 goes into 10 3 times because 3 times 3 equals 9 and that leaves a remainder of 1. Just like before, we don't want a remainder, so let's use another 0 so we can help and write on dividing. And that gives us 10 divided by 3 again. Well, we know that 3 goes into 10 times 3 and leaves a remainder of 1. Huh? Still a remainder of 1? Well, it looks like we are gonna need another 0. But that's just gonna give us 10 divided by 3 again, which is going to give us another remainder of 1. This looks like it might keep on going forever. Some fractions are like that. If you divide them, you will see a repeating pattern of numbers that continues on forever. So the decimal value of 1/3 is 0.33333 and so on, and 3's that keep on going forever. But since we can't keep writing 3's forever, we can just stop and round the number off. Or we can use a special symbol that means this number repeats forever. Alright, so all we have to do to convert a fraction into a decimal is divide. And so far, we have been doing that the hard way, but now we are gonna do it the easy way. We are gonna use a calculator. Let's try a couple with a calculator and see what we get. To convert 1/4, we just punch in 1 divided by 4 and we get 0.25. To convert 2/3, we just punch in 2 divided by 3 and we get 0. A whole lot of 6's. Looks like we have another one of those repeating decimals. Yes, this way is certainly easier and quicker too. But it's important to know how to do it both ways. The 5 fractions that we have just converted are so common that it's a good idea to memorize their decimal values. Here they are again, so you can review them. 1/4 equals to 0.25. 1/3 which equals to 0.3333 and so on. And 1/2 which equals to 0.5. 2/3 which equals to 0.66666 and so on. So that's how you convert any fraction into a decimal, so just divide. And we already learned how you go to the other way to convert a decimal into a fraction in the last section. So be sure to review it if you need to. In the next section, we are going to learn a few tricks that we can use to help us compare the values of fractions. And as always, be sure to do the exercises and don't forget to practice dividing the hard way too. Because if you are ever stranded on a deserted island without a calculator, you need to be able to do your math homework. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.